get oily, greasy takeout when you can have fresh Chad 24/7? Free of charge at ChadBensonShow.com. Click on Chad's podcast and enjoy freshly canned Chad. Catch the Chad Benson Show on iTunes, too, and nibble to your heart's content.
Going to join us right now. Very interesting character. He is from Scotland. His name is Gerard Graham. He wrote a book about hotel euthanasia, and he takes a really weird and morose and kind of creepy subject of being able to essentially end your own life and turns it into a crazy novel and points out the hypocrisies on all sides, on the way that we treat our animals and the way that we treat each other when it comes to end of life. He's going to join us straight ahead. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Take the poll on Facebook or Twitter. Gerard Graham joins us straight ahead. It is the Chad Benson Show. Joining us now is the author of, well, checking out of the hotel euthanasia, Gerard Graham. And you guys will notice his accent, very Southern. He's in South Carolina today, but he's not originally from South Carolina. Gerard, appreciate you coming on today. And let's first and foremost, what made you take on this kind of subject in a way that people are describing as kind of Train Spotting meets the Grand Budapest Hotel?
Yeah, it's an intriguing subject. Certainly one of society's most modern dilemmas, and that certainly was the background to it for myself. I also had a professional background in developing social policy for older people and was a consultant that worked at a national level, so very interested in the law and how it applies to people, but also about empowering older people and giving people the right to choose. So the whole issue about assisted dying in the book is very much about the right to choose. But it is a comedy, and there's a reason why it's a comedy as well. And coming from Scotland, well, you'll know that Scottish people have this humour that cuts through all sorts of pomposity and is really quite scarbic. So it uses that humour to explore the extremes in the book of the flawed arguments on all sides of the debate. So it's an intriguing subject, an intriguing title, checking out of the hotel euthanasia, and it certainly causes people to think.
Yeah, it does cause people to think because, we've got, you look across the country and states are starting to say, Oregon has been a state that has been okay with it. And we had a big issue a couple years ago with a woman in California that was terminal, and she had to move to Oregon, become a resident so she could take her own life in a way that she felt that she deserved the dignity that she deserves. Now, California has since moved on and many people are opting out. We just had a gentleman in Australia who said, you know what, I'm 100 and some years old. I'm over it. I'm going over to Switzerland, and I'm gonna check myself out because I don't want to get any older. It's a touchy subject, but you've taken it on in a much different kind of lighthearted way, which I think in a lot of ways is the way that we deal with things like this that are touchy.
Yeah, absolutely. If I can quote William Hazlitt, he says that humans are the only animal that laughs, and the reason we do that is that when we've got really difficult dilemmas or difficult subjects that we're trying to deal with, then we can use humour to actually approach those subjects. And certainly the novel uses the extremes of humour to take things to the nth degree.
In this book, it's a novel. I mean, you touch on a real subject that people are talking about and debating it, not just here in the States, but worldwide, on whether or not you should have the right to choose the way that you go out, whether you're a healthy person and you're just over it, or whether you're a person who's terminally ill or too old and the quality of life you lead is horrible. But you've wrapped it around inside of a story. And how are people taking this novel? Because, again, it is a touchy subject, but at the same time, it's a humorous way to look at something like this, where I look at this and I say, this screams of a movie.
Yep, it does. It does. It's got that. And a lot of the people who have reviewed the book have said the same thing. They can see the humour, they can see it transposed, the characters, the development of the characters onto the screen, and it seems to work. People warm to the prophetic predictions of this whole idea that you can take consumerism to the nth degree as well. You can take that idea of commercialization and apply that to assisted dying. And it is a bit prophetic, because at some point somebody's going to do this. And the hotel euthanasia in the title, it provides, if you like, a theme park of assisted dying. It's a very dark comedy. It takes the consumerism to new levels, and the bizarre guests who check into the hotel check out with the most self-indulgent themed deaths that they can imagine. So, and no matter how weird it is. So I use all their weird experiences to take forward the issues. But the story also follows a rebellious group of chaotic Scotsmen who set out to blow up the hotel because they are diametrically opposed to it. And all the chaos that ensues actually is quite slapstick, and takes the story on and takes people through what could be quite a dry subject. You know, although people are very interested in it, it is relatively dry if you discuss this. By providing it as a humorous story, it actually makes all the concepts, all the dilemmas accessible, and it pokes fun at everybody. It's a very well-balanced book because it pokes fun at absolutely everybody. It pokes fun at politics, religion, consumerism, and it really does explore the right to choose versus whether the state should make that choice for you.
Yeah, you know, it's very interesting because, like you said, it can be a very dry subject, but we also look around and we say, okay, well, we look at our animals and we say, you know what, you've had too much. We don't want you to suffer anymore. But as human beings, we're like, nope, we want you to suffer for as long as possible. If there's a way that we can keep you alive even longer than that, that'll be fantastic. And you take it and you talk about the absurd in the book, because it is, for those of you not keeping score in this book, it's a book where you literally check yourself out the way you want to. You want to go out in a blaze of glory, you can go out in a blaze of glory. It is, you pick and choose your death. It's not you go into a room surrounded by your loved ones. If you want to get the shootout in the old Western, then that's the way you go. Yep.
Some of there's imagines in this fictional hotel, it imagines these departure suites, as they're called, the exi-theme departure suite. So you choose the theme. Round the walls is a cinematic representation of what you're wanting your theme to be about. Now, obviously, some might be quite erotic, so that leads to some humour. Some people are interested in being a rock star or that type of thing. Some people just want a quiet, gentle death and to go out very peacefully. But sometimes the hotel gets it mixed up. So the biker gang who were going for a blowout, they get the old lady's death with the gentle preacher and lots of fluffy kittens in the background while she goes out with heavy rock music. So it uses humour to take all these things to the nth degree. And some of the characters are very humorous as well. For instance, there are social workers in the story, but they also double as sex workers as well. So that if you can imagine that as a humorous ploy, then that would take you to different places in your thinking.
Talking to Gerard Graham, checking out of the hotel euthanasia. And, of course, here in the States, it's a huge debate. And you take on the hypocrisy of both sides. And that, to me, is a wonderful thing, because there is hypocrisy in both sides. Yeah. And you take on not only the hypocrisy in both sides, but you also take on the capitalism, because there is somebody who's thinking they're going to read this book and go, oh, my God, this would be great. This is the way to go. You know, it's not about just relaxing. Let's go out in style.
Yep, and also there will be people thinking, well, this could be a money-making enterprise. Why not give people what they want? If people can afford to pay for it, we'll provide it. And there's always somebody who wants to do that. In the story, it's about a small principality, an imaginary principality, set somewhere in Central Europe that is running out of money, and the royal family there have got no money, so they come up with this idea to set up the hotel euthanasia in one of their grand hotels that's fallen in dark times, and they set up this whole commercial enterprise where people, if they can pay for it, can travel to the country and they can get the death that they want to buy, and that leads to all sorts of humorous stories.
Yes, it does. It's an interesting book. Check it out, The Hotel Euthanasia by Gerard. I appreciate you coming on today, man. Very interesting book and a very interesting way to take on a subject that a lot of people think about but nobody talks about, and you've done it in a humorous way that I think will really challenge everybody. I appreciate you coming on today. And by the way, who do you have in the World Cup? We know it's not Scotland.
Well, it's not Scotland. In Scotland, we would probably say anybody who's playing England.
Yes, you would. I appreciate you coming on today, man. Thanks so very much, and enjoy South Carolina. It's beautiful.
Yes. Thanks very much, Chad, and good talking to you.
Thank you so much. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter, ChadBenson. And the book is so, I mean, you know what it is to me? And again, it's this weird kind of way of looking at things. But if you could do a Westworld type situation where you could literally choose your own ending in a way that would make you happy. I know it sounds weird, but imagine that. If you wanted to go out in an old Western theme, an old Western theme. If you wanted to go out in a space blasting firefight, that kind of thing, that's the kind of thing. And I could totally see somebody franchising this eventually in the United States. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter.